We love being able to go to the different high school, colleges, middle schools to live broadcast sporting events around the area. Georgia Alabama Sports Live appreciates all the fan support, but without a presenting sponsor like Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC and Opelika, none of this would be possible. So we want to say thank you so much. Go to glennsmith.com. That is right, glennsmith.com. See all the inventory and see why people always say, you're ready to smile. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC for being our presenting sponsor.
Got to unmute myself, but I was saying, oh man, I'm glad to be back as we are live here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. Thrift Barringer, Richard Holdridge, should be a fun show, and I literally forgot to put on my mic. I was so excited. I'm literally sitting here, got my notes ready, and I knew I was going to forget to put on my mic. But aside from that, Richard, how are you doing?
Thrift, I'm doing great. Glad to be back doing another show, and that's just what we keep on doing. We keep grinding, and we keep producing great content.
Yes, we do, Richard, and you did an absolute fantastic job filling in. Not really filling in, holding the fort down, because you do what you do, Richard, as always. But, you know, great job on the coaches' shows. Great job with Coach Knox sitting down with AD. We're also going to drop next week. Richard did the Kendrick Cherokee's interview with Andre Dye. He also did Russell Scott from Jordan High School. I just dropped last night Hardaway with Kendall Mills. So we got all that coming up. You did a great job on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show on Monday, because I don't know if y'all know this or not, but Richard called a playoff soccer game on Saturday. They got 5,000 views, and it was just a lot of people tuning in, brought a lot of exposure to Columbus United and Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So, Richard, great job. And then you talked with Brett Teach. Listen to that interview. You interviewed legendary broadcaster Dave Plata. Even had Chris Gates on to talk some sports. And by the way, Columbus United heading to the final in their first season. Richard, the floor is yours. And by the way, we're presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Just tell us how incredible a win this was for United last night.
I watched this game on YouTube. Pensacola FC had their YouTube channel. They were down 1-0. And then they came back and they tied it in the second half. And then Kawata had a free kick. And then Garcia, out of nowhere, he pretty much dove for the ball once the ball was in flight. And this was in the 90th minute. So if they couldn't get this free kick off, they were headed to overtime. Garcia dives for the ball, times it perfectly, put it in the back of the net. The announcers for Pensacola FC were completely in shock. They even said, oh my. That's all they did on the broadcast. They were absolutely stunned. And Columbus United is going to play down in Jacksonville this Saturday for the championship against Jacksonville Armada FC. And by the way, the play-by-play announcer for Jacksonville Armada FC just reached out to me on Facebook trying to get some information on Columbus United, like the pronunciation of the names. I feel honored that people would associate me as the voice of Columbus United, and they would reach out to me. Yeah, why wouldn't they?
Why would they not? You're called 3 games this year. And by the way, I think JD be okay saying this, but I think next year, Georgia Alabama Sports Live will be the home for all things Columbus United soccer.
There you go.
So we got Lions. We got Columbus United soccer, maybe minor league base. Richard, the sky's the limit, and I'm just excited. But you did a great job, and I was really proud of you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Thrift. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I listened to the interview with you and Coach Kendall Mills. I mean, everybody's excited about Hardaway, including our next guest, because he is a proud alum of Hardaway.
He is, Richard. And again, this week we have dropping tomorrow night, the Harris County interview Rick Beach will be doing it with Mindy Johnson, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be a great interview. And then next week, we got a bunch dropping. We got Russell County not Russell County, but Jordan and Kendrick. We'll have Columbus High. We still got Brookstone, Pacelli. As I may mention, Spencer, Carver, Northside, and then we're going to try to get Central and Smith Station. We've had a lot of fun doing this, just sitting down, having a great conversation. So like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. A ton of topics we're going to get into tonight, and one of them being the Atlanta Braves, which we'll have our next guest on in just a second. We've held him long enough, and I know he's going to be like, Thrift, what are you doing? And you're big timing me. And I would never big time you, Tyler. I love you.
No.
We're supposed to start at 7. Got done with Sports Visions, tried to grab me a bite to eat. Obviously, that took longer than I needed to. Tried to wolf down all the food. So hopefully I don't have any food on my face right now. But after Tyler, we have Casey Smith, the owner of the Lions. The Lions are going back to the National Arena League, the NAL.
Welcome back.
And we cannot wait to talk with Casey Smith, what this means for the Lions organization. They're looking for a GM as Lee Snow has stepped down after 2 great years of service, and what's to expect next year with the Lions after winning back-to-back championships. So that will be the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show tonight. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him on. He is recently engaged. He is a guy that I'm telling you, I don't get my information with the Braves from anyone but Tyler. And I'm going to be honest, I don't watch the Braves near as much as I should have, and did in the past, because I can just watch Tyler and get updates after I look at the standings on what's happening. But it's Tyler Redmond of WRBL and Tyler Redmond on deck. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. Tyler, you're muted. There we go.
I'm muted? Okay, how about now? Are we good? Everybody here?
We're good. We're good.
All right, happy to be here, guys. Thank you for having me on. And obviously, with the Braves right now, they seem to be playing a little bit better as we get closer to the trade deadline. Hopefully, that will make the front office a little bit more aggressive than they otherwise may or may not have been. But yeah, a lot to be excited about for the Atlanta Braves.
All right, let's go ahead and get into a lot of topics that we want to hit when it comes to the Braves right now. But they just had a 4-game winning streak. They took 2 or 3 from the Phillies, and in the 6 games they faced against them, they've taken 4 of 6. So that is a bright spot. And what otherwise has been an up and down year, maybe not with the standings, because we stayed second place the entire season since the Phillies took over. But right now, we're about to head into All-Star break. What's the assessment for Tyler Redmond and the Atlanta Braves? Are you happy? Are you okay? Where are you sitting right now in terms of where the Braves are at?
I think we're okay. If you're using that scale, I think you're okay. You know, I was at Game 3 for the Braves and Phillies, and I had that one circled for quite a while. Hey, Jack, I need to be at this game. This one right here, I need to be there. And the reason was, well, it was the conclusion to a big rivalry series, but the Braves and Phillies are always going to be a big series to watch. Always, no matter what time of the year it is, no matter if it's in March or no matter if it's in October, which, by the way, the last time the Braves had faced the Phillies was the opening series back in March. So it'd been a long time since they've seen each other, but nothing had changed. The Braves took 2 or 3 the first time. They took 2 of 3 the second time. The problem is, here we are. We have only a few more games before the All-Star break, and we're 8.5 games back of Philadelphia. And that number 8, we've gotten to 7 here and there, but that number 8 just seems to be the one we keep coming back to. And no matter what happens, the Phillies right now, they're playing the Dodgers, and they've been able to beat them. And it just seems like the Braves can't step ahead. So how do you do it? How do you come back? For me, a lot of people have been pointing to 2022 when the Braves came back from 10.5, and even Jack Patterson, who we all know and love, told me, "Well, Tyler, we came back from 10.5 a couple of years ago." I just want to remind everybody, when we were 10.5 games back, that was in May. It's July, so there's a little bit more of a panic, rightfully so. What I will say is we are 8.5 games back, but we do have 7 more games against the Phillies, which in theory should be some kind of could help the Braves jump right back in, just like this series did, because had this past series gone the other way, Thrift, we'd be in full out panic mode What do we do in terms of winning the division? And as much as we'd like to win the division, and if you ask Brian Snicker, if you ask Alex Anthopoulos, they're going to tell you the main goal is to win the division. And as much as that is the truth, you also have to be slightly realistic and realize, okay, well, that may not happen based on the trajectory we're at right now. So what's the ramifications if it doesn't happen? Well, as of today, you would be sitting in the postseason. You would still qualify, but you'd be in a wild card series. And I believe if it ended today, we would be facing the Cardinals. The winner of that series would go on to face Philadelphia. And I don't know about you guys, but part of me would just love to start in a wild card series, be as hot as we're going to be, and go right into the postseason series against the Phillies, pending a victory over the Cardinals. Either way, you're in the postseason, and that's really what matters. The division is bragging rights for sure, but I mean, the Braves would certainly love to get a number 7th in a row. But at the same time, I think what the key here is to make it to the postseason. Now, they've recently brought up Eddie Rosario, which I liked. We signed him once he was DFA'd for the Nationals, and a lot of people were scratching their heads at that one. Why would we want somebody who's getting DFA'd from the Nationals? He's Eddie Rosario, though, and who would play well in a Washington Nationals uniform right now? Nobody. So for me, I thought it was a good left-handed bat that the Braves needed desperately, because as much as I like Adam Duvall, him against right-handed pitching right now has not really been there. And look, it's an early addition, a cheap addition, and it's not going to hurt you by giving it a shot. So far, he's been able to do some good things. Hopefully that'll continue to be the case. But yeah, a lot to be excited about. I think the most exciting thing, of course, is the trade deadline, which is coming up in 19 days. We are counting it down here. I'm actually planning to do a live broadcast during the trade deadline, slightly before and then following up on it. So for all you out there, if you haven't subscribed to me, I suggest you do that, because that show, historically speaking, has always been a big one, and typically the Braves always give us some headlines while we're live. So excited for that and excited for whatever the Braves do.
Yeah. Tyler, the Braves have 3 players that are going to be represented at the All-Star game. Last year they had 8. Does that sound about right? Was there any Braves players that got snubbed? I'm talking about Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez, and Marcell Ozuna. Was there anybody else that you felt was deserving of making the All-Star team?
I mean, I think there's a lot of players across Major League Baseball every year that are deserving. To be honest with you, I think Pete Alonso is slightly less deserving than some of his teammates, to be honest, that he qualified and they didn't. But here we are, and we have 3 coming off of a year where we had 8. I got to be honest with you. I think they got it kind of right with the Braves. You look at who's our best hitter. By no argument is it other than Marcell Ozuna. Who's our best starting pitcher? It's either Ronaldo Lopez or Chris Sale. There's no denying that. So I would have loved to have seen Jesse Chavez. It's the possibility of this being his last year is up there. And just for that reason and the performance he's been able to do within a Braves uniform this year, I would have loved to have seen that. He's a real leader. I actually met him for the first time in the clubhouse prior to the game against the Phillies. Couldn't be a more humble guy, does not look for any recognition, but he gets it, and rightfully so. And I'll tell you this, I asked him about the All-Star game, because if looking around the locker room, every last one of the players in there had a Jesse Chavez for the All-Star game t-shirt on. If that tells you anything about how much of a leader he is. I asked him, like, look, how much would pitching in that game mean to you? He's like, well, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It'd be great, but I'm not looking for a half-season award. I'm looking for the end of the season and what we're going to do, a deep run into October. So as much as we can sit here and point out, well, Austin Riley could have made it, so-and-so could have made it, Jesse Chavez arguably should have made it. I think they're all focused on one thing in reality, and that's October.
All right, Jared Kelenic. All right, I want you to put this into perspective for me, because we've seen talented players like him that have come through the Braves organization that have been good players, but maybe not turned into elite level players. Now, Ronald Acuna Jr. is the exception to that. He won an MVP, but I'm going back like a Jeff Francoeur. I'm going back to like a Jason Hayward. Heck, even Michael Harris to an extent. He had a really good rookie season, and he's been really good. But do we expect him to be a high-level all-star player, to maybe a Hall of Famer? I don't think that's reasonable for him. What do you think with Jared? Obviously, he came out hot this year, but what's reasonable expectations for him? And do you think he can be a realistic contributor the rest of the year?
I think he's a role player. I think that's what he is. I think he is a leadoff guy. I think he can take you deep when he's on. But the real key to his success, if you ask me, has been moving up to that leadoff spot. Because if he's looked at like a weakness, very similar to Orlando Arcia has been over the years, right. If he's looked at as a weakness, well, okay, I got to get that guy out, so I'm going to throw in the zone and more than likely a fastball. He's going to see plenty of fastballs because of who's batting behind him, right? And you certainly don't want to put him on, and then all of a sudden you got to go through the gauntlet of, Olsen, Ozuna, Riley. You'd much rather have those guys come up to bat with nobody on base. So Jared Kelenic has been able to take advantage of that. And I'm not saying that that's solely what it is, but he's been able to take advantage of that that scenario. And look, Ronald Acuna takes advantage of that as well, because this entire offense, you could say was driven by Ronald Acuna, but I would argue that the offense also drives Ronald Acuna in a way, because the way the lineup was made, you get Acuna on base, pressure's on immediately. Jared Kelenic is not the runner that Ronald Acuna was, but he can get on base. And like I said, he's a solid hitter at the top of your lineup that if he gets on base, you're just funneling the rest of it. And that's what I think his real key here is. We did not pay a ton for him. We did not trade a ton for him. I like the move when it happened, and I think working with Kevin Seitzer has helped him a lot. But all in all, with Jared Kelenic, we've gotten more than what we paid for here. And so if he doesn't, finish the year as hot as he is right now, so be it. But if he does, it's a steal. I mean, it really is. So for me, I like the move when it happened. I still like it, and the Braves are reaping the rewards of making it.
Well, Tyler, one of the things that I really want to – and Richard, were you going to ask a Braves question before I ask this next question? Because I didn't want to go off topic, because I was about to ask several things about Major League Baseball and other teams. So before I transition –
to be honest with you, Thrift, we can go an entire hour talking about Braves with Tyler. Yeah. There's just so much to get into with the Atlanta Braves, and I can't think of anybody better to talk Braves than Tyler Redmond.
Yeah, no doubt. I do got to say before, I guess we can do whatever we want. It's our show. But when I'm looking at teams that could win it all this year, Tyler, I think we all agree the Phillies are one of those teams. We've seen them make the World Series. We've seen them make it to the conference. I mean, not the conference, the NLCS last year. They are an elite baseball team. They got the best record in baseball. But aside from the Phillies, who's a team in the National League and the American League that you think could win it all this year? And I bring it up to say this. Is it finally going to be a year in which we see a Yankees in a World Series? Because Judge is playing excellent baseball. Tell me, who are the contenders in your mind, Tyler?
Well, let's start with the National League, because that's what I'm frankly most familiar with, because that's who we deal with mostly with the Braves. But for me, with the National League, I still think the best team in there is the Dodgers. And a lot of people may, look at that and go, oh, I don't know, Tyler. But think about this. The way I look at it is, how do you match up against the Braves? Okay. And the Dodgers waxed Atlanta. There is no argument there. We got beat. Okay. That's not to say that we can't beat them later. I'm just telling you, when they came to town, it was, ooh, that hurt, like that one did not feel good, and it put us in a rut. So to me, I think that's your contender. The Phillies are a contender, but really with the expanded playoffs, everybody's still a contender. Like, there's very few teams that aren't a contender, which makes it more difficult to make trades. It makes it more difficult to open up that market. We've seen a few teams go early, but it's the Marlins or the White Sox. It's teams that are so far out of it that they're not going to have a chance. But look at the Diamondbacks. They're not technically in the postseason right now, but they're still a contender because they're playing for a wild card, which makes them less likely to trade at the deadline. right? So it's tough. There's a lot of teams that could. I mentioned the Diamondbacks. Who would have thought they'd been in the World Series last year?
Right.
Who would have thought the Phillies last year would be in the World Series? So to me, a contender is anybody that makes it to the postseason. I think the Braves are a contender. In terms of the American League, the Orioles are still a very good team. Cleveland's leading the division. The Mariners, the Astros have come from the depths of where they were, and they're now only 2 games back from the lead in their division. Sorry, Rex, if you're watching. But that's my point. Like the way the season evolves, contenders can come from anywhere. I can tell you who won't be a contender. Let's start there. The Oakland A's, the Angels, the White Sox, the Tigers, the Royals, the Blue Jays, the Rays, the Red Sox more than likely, the Marlins, the Nationals, the Mets, the Cubs, the Reds, the Pirates, the Rockies for sure not, the Giants. Those teams are out of it. They're not a contender. But everybody else pretty much is. And I know I listed a lot of teams there, but they're all 22 games back or 16 games back and probably at least 10 games out of their of being in the wild card. So unless you're one of those teams, you got to fight and chance. So it really, to me, the reason I focus on that is, okay, well, who's going to be a seller at the deadline? That's where I go with that. And all those teams I just read, if they're not sellers at the deadline, they're stupid. That's my opinion. A lot of them won't be. The Angels historically are never sellers. They should be, but hopefully Ron Washington can convince them to do something out of the ordinary for them.
Tyler, how excited are you that Atlanta is hosting the All-Star game next year?
Let's not jinx it, okay? Let's just.
This almost happened last time. Now, Tyler.
Okay, now.
Richard, you bring up a sore spot now. Hold up.
Let's not jinx it. No, I think
hear me out. 2021, I mean, it just didn't have the same feel. It was a COVID year. Even if Atlanta hosted the All-Star game, I don't think a whole lot of fans would have been able to enjoy it.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy it as good as I'm going to enjoy it because I'm now in a spot where I can probably go and cover the All-Star game. So for that reason, I'm thankful. But here's the thing. I think it's great for the city of Atlanta. I think it's overdue. Obviously, we can get into that, but I don't want to get into the politics of it. I think we're past that at this point. But I think the park deserves it. The fan base deserves it. The team deserves it. And I think the city deserves it, to be honest with you. And I think it's going to be great for the city of Atlanta. I'm happy to see it because it's one of the greatest spectacles. I'm happy to see it because I want to see who can hit the furthest ball at the home run derby. Hopefully Marcell Ozuna gets a shot in Atlanta. But there's a lot to be excited about with that. Most importantly, I'm looking forward to going. I think it's going to be a great thing. And I'm glad Major League Baseball, kind of realized they will never admit it, but they realized the mistake they made, and they're doing their best to correct it.
As they should, and I completely 100% agree on that. Tyler, kind of to switch gears real quick, and we'll come back to Major League, but just staying within the local realm. And someone you sat down with Pete Lavin. We actually talked with Pete Lavin, the GM of the new minor league baseball team. You can't say the Columbus Braves. I don't know if you know that or not, Tyler. You cannot say that. Because when we were talking with him, they hadn't even come out with the name yet. So everybody keeps saying the Columbus Braves, and I'm writing up a description for Sports Vision. I'm like, I can't say Columbus Braves. He said not to say that. We got to say the new minor league team. With that being said,
it is the Columbus Professional Baseball Team. You have to lay it out.
There we go.
Everybody knows what you're talking about. We all know the affiliation, but you got to say that. Yeah, it's a tongue twister, to be honest with you. But no, Pete's great. Pete's great.
That's what I wanted to ask was not just about Pete, but you in particular, because we grew up around here, Tyler. We went to Rec 6 games, Waves games, the minor league teams that were here before this new one that's coming in. I want this to be successful, obviously, with the $50 million project. We've talked about that extensively. I want to talk about the name, though. I really do want to get into that. I find it hard not being the Braves, right? Because me and DJ were talking about it. Can it be anything else? Why would it not be the Braves? And then I got to say this, too. I love Synovus Park. I love that they're giving back. I love they're upgrading this facility. but could it not be, Sonova Stadium at Golden Park or something along those lines? Because remember, a park's bigger than a stadium. It's the entire facility. It's the entire area that the stadium is in. Maybe that was something to think about. Do you have any comments on my gripe? Not really gripes, but just want to know where we're going with this if we're not going to call them the Columbus Braves, because the whole reason of getting a Braves affiliate is because we love the Braves here.
So let's start with the Golden Park thing. Let's start with that. So I was there, Thrift. I think you were there, Richard. Yep. I want to say you were there at the groundbreaking, but when it was announced, I've lived here my whole life. Thrift, you've lived here your whole life.
Yep.
When it first gets announced that it's not going to be Golden Park, it's like, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. But here's the way I've decided to look at it. If Synovus is willing to invest and put this kind of money in and help this happen, I'm okay with it. Like you said, I would have loved for it to have been Synovus Field at Golden Park or some other kind of thing. Because here's the thing. A lot of people in Columbus are going to always refer to that as Golden Park. They just are. It's been here for over 100 years. The history's still there. That's the one thing. No matter what they call it, the history's still going to be there. Baseball's still going to be played there. That's really all that matters to me. In terms of the name, I identify with you, to be honest with you. I would love it to be the Columbus Braves.
Right.
And the reason that is, I think it's more marketable. I think more people will identify it directly with the Braves. That said, I don't think it's going to be the case, because I don't think they'd be waiting this long to tell us that it was going to be the Columbus Braves. And I also don't think that, the trend for their minor leagues has not been to just name it the Rome Braves anymore, or the Gwinnett Braves. They're the Gwinnett Stripers and the Rome Emperors. So it's going to be something. I hope that it is something that is relevant to our town, to our city. Right. I don't know what they can do. I don't think it'll be the Chattahoochee, but don't put it past anybody. I'm interested to see what it is. And again, I really hope it's something that people, it's something you can identify with the city. I don't know what it'll be, but I hope that it's something that it's relevant to the city of Columbus. But again, if they decided to, if they decided to come up with something completely new, I don't know that I would be opposed to that either. I have to kind of see it, and then I'll give you what I really think about it. But all in all, it's changes. Change is sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I think overall the goods outweigh the bad in terms of the name changes. And at the end of the day, guys, we got professional baseball coming to Columbus. And as a baseball fan, that's really all I care about. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm looking forward to hearing the name. Pete Lavin has been very accessible. I'm sure you guys found that out too. He's been very friendly to us. And, all I can say is under his leadership, I trust it, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And before you ask your question, Richard, I just want to go back to the Chattahoochee thing. And I just hear me out when I say this. And I'm saying it, not Tyler Redmond of WRBL and Tyler Redmond on deck. But I think if you do pick that name and maybe there's some compensation for it, maybe we start smoothing out some uneven roads that we have gone over since bringing in this new team. It's just a thought. It is just a thought. Or you could pick the name and it could be something that could be maybe catastrophic to the community. So I don't think it's going to be Chattahoochee. But just hear me out, man. Maybe if they did it the right way and all parties are happy, maybe that's something they could eventually try to do.
Maybe. I think the Braves are more than likely, and I say the Braves is in the big-time Braves, Diamond Baseball Holdings. I think they're all going to try to basically – I think they're going to try to pave their own way. That's the best way I can see it going. I'm sure they've already decided what it's going to be. They're just waiting on the right calendar date to say, all right, this is what it is, guys, and get us all excited and frankly create a buzz, because that's what they got to do to be successful, is create a buzz in this community. They already have. There's so many people that are curious about the construction on Golden Park and what this team is going to be and how are they going to implement the old with the new. That's something I'm curious about. I'm sure it's something y'all are curious about. It was one of my first questions for Pete when I interviewed him is, okay, how much of this is still going to be here? Like how much are you keeping the scoreboard? Are you keeping the wall? Are you keeping like what's gone and what's staying? And I think that's going to be kind of fun to watch progress. But all in all, again, no matter what happens, I am thrilled that we even have not only professional baseball here, we have a Braves affiliate that is directly linked to the team. There's people that get called up and sent back down all the time. Spencer Schwellenbach recently got called up. Michael Harris got called up from AA. Vaughn Grissom got called up from AA. All the guys that we've seen right now playing, just about Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna, they all came through AA at different times. So we're going to have very good baseball to watch here in the Fountain City.
Yeah, Tyler, it seems like it's just a perfect match. You are a Braves fan and you cover sports here in the Columbus area. I know that you've got to be excited, but I think that game day atmosphere, I could picture it next year. I mean, we got baseball starting in April, ending in September. We're talking about a Monday night, a Tuesday night at Synovus Park. It's going to feel like a big event, just every home game. And you also got to factor in the local teams in the Southern Baseball League, like the Montgomery Biscuits, like the Birmingham Barons, the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. Their fans are going to travel too. And all those fans of the Biscuits, the Barons, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, they're Braves fans too because they live in the Southeast. I think this is going to be a huge success. And it's not just going to attract Columbus, it's going to attract the surrounding areas. And I think that Synovus Park is going to be packed. And it's really going to drive the economy here in Columbus, at least for the first couple of years. And hopefully it's just sustainable.
Well, the other thing that I want people to realize, I'm a Braves fan. If you're not watching the show, you don't know, but I'm a huge Braves fan. And I'll speak that candidly. These autographs don't just happen. That's from traveling and going to minor league parks and finding the stars of tomorrow and getting them to meet back when I was a kid, right? And I'm not just one person that does that. There's tons of people that have done that over the years and still do it. So I think you're going to have fans come down from, the north side of Atlanta. I think you're going to have the entire Southeast, like you said, migrate here, just like we've seen happen in Rome, just like we've seen happen. I know Gwinnett's a lot closer to Atlanta, but just like in Gwinnett, you're going to have that. And because it's linked to the Braves and not the Yankees or the Rays or whatever else, it's perfectly located in Columbus. It's going to be just another tourist spot. I think Columbus's best tourist attraction is more than likely the Whitewater thing. And I think this is about as close as we're going to get to another one, right? You're going to have people travel to watch these games. Like you said, from Montgomery, that's only an hour and a half. Other places here within that league are going to travel, but also just Braves fans are going to travel to see some of these young stars in the minor leagues because the minor leagues provide you frankly, a cheaper way to see a lot of these guys, but also a closer, more fan-friendly view, right? You're closer to the players. You're not 4 decks up. You're right there. You have a great view of it. You can see well. You can get an up-close personal view. You can probably talk to the players more than likely just from the stands. They're a lot more friendly at that level, and they're a lot more fan accessible at that level. And I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm just saying there's a lot more opportunities for that kind of thing than there are at the big league level.
I got to ask you this, Tyler, and this will be one of our final questions. And I was just listening to a podcast, Ron Russillo. I really enjoy listening to him. And he was just talking about ratings. And I'm putting this perspective of where baseball is at. Going back to the 2022 World Series ratings, not very good. We're talking about an average of 6 to 8 million people were watching. Last year was about 9 million. It increased with having Texas in it. I don't know if that has something to do with it going against Arizona compared to Philly and Houston in the previous year. I would have thought that would have got better ratings, but it didn't. But then I bring up the fact, it's like, dang, baseball's not doing good. But then I looked at the NBA. They were in steep decline, and they were only at an average of about 11 million. That's 2 more million than what baseball got. Is it, and I guess we'll go back to baseball, not really basketball, because I know you really don't care about that as much. do you think it's like, do we need the bigger markets? Do you need a New York Yankees in the World Series to bring those ratings that were back in the early 2000s? I'm not even talking about the 90s when it was at 30 million or it was the highest it's ever been in the history of baseball. I don't think that's ever going to probably happen again. But what do you think is going to help baseball get back up there? But it's not just a baseball problem. Obviously, it's an everyone problem set for the NFL and college football. Everything else is just, it's like pick and choose, really. And I feel like if it's not big name, people are not tuning in. Do you want to tell me, like, how can we fix this, or do you think it's even fixable?
I don't think a big team like the Yankees or the Dodgers are exactly the way to go, because you can't guarantee that every year.
Right.
I think you need compelling stories. The Braves in 21 is a perfect example of that.
And it was great ratings that year.
Yeah, an underdog that's going up against a proven commodity in the Astros, and a very much disliked commodity at the time as well with the Astros. So you can have compelling stories, but I think baseball's biggest problem is their lack of star power. Not because they don't have them, but their lack of marketing them, right? For me, a good example is Mike Trout. I mean, how many just sports fans know who Mike Trout is, right? It's rare. But how many back in the 90s knew who Ken Griffey Jr. was, right? I'm wearing Griffey tennis shoes right now, if that tells you anything. I guess what I'm saying is you don't have that marketing. The cover of MLB The Show this year has Vlad Guerrero Jr. on it. Great player, but why is that not Ronald Acuna Jr., right? After an MVP season, a historic season. They just don't seem to market as well as someone like the NFL. And look, there's a lot of reasons for that. I think the fact that baseball is so inaccessible for fans is a big part of the problem, right? Your ratings would go up if you just made it easier to watch, right? You can't get anybody hooked when, okay, what do I got to do tonight? I got to tune into Apple TV. Oh, wait, I got to pay $8.99 a month for Apple TV just to watch this one game. That's where you run into problems. And it's not just Apple TV. It's all the big TV corporations. It's ran into all these problems, and baseball has become so hard to find and watch compared to college football, compared to the NFL, where it's basically I'm going to buy one subscription and I'm good for the year, right? And it's not a perfect system either, but it's a lot better than baseball. And look, I'm a Braves fan, but sometimes I want to watch the Dodgers because I want to see what Shohei Ohtani's doing, right? That should be able to be watched where I live too. And especially if I'm in California, I should be able to watch my hometown team. And you have all these blackouts. That to me causes a lot of issues. And baseball knows this, but those contracts pay them so much money that, hey, we can take a hit at the ratings at the end of the year. And they'll blame it on, well, it was the smaller market teams in the World Series. When in reality, if you have a compelling story, which any team that's going to the World Series has a compelling story, right? They've had to go through trial and tribulation to get there. But at the end of the day, if you're not letting fans watch the product, to me, you shouldn't have to pay for the regular season. Make the postseason pay-per-view. It'll get buys. That's the way I feel about it. If you let someone get hooked on the regular season and watch the ups and downs, I think you fix your situation. But also, you got to market your stars. Mike Trout has been grossly, and partially because that's his personality. He has not been marketed correctly. But also, the guys that are, they don't take full advantage of it. I think Ronald Acuna, they should have strapped a rocket to the guy. I know he's hurt now, but they should have strapped a rocket to him and made him the most popular player in baseball. And in large part, he is in some areas. But to me, that's where baseball is lacking. It's not, at the end of the year, we had two lower market teams. Well, why did no one care that the Brewers were in the postseason? And why did no one care? Because no one gets to watch them. That's my take on it. But
I think that's a great answer. And I agree with you on the marketing standpoint. And I think a lot of the drawback too, and I hate to say it, but Ronald Acuna being a foreigner, and I think the fact that, the baseball purists not liking someone like him and a Bryce Harper, and those are the guys you need to market. Those are the guys the NFLs are marketing, and reason why everybody tunes in. I get the point, too, about accessible, and I think that's where the NBA's at now with this new deal. But they just signed a $76 billion TV rights deal. They don't care about ratings at that point. They're still getting money. They do not care. And by the way, you brought the point, Tyler, before you make one more comment. The Braves, Astros had more viewers consistently that entire World Series than the previous two combined.
I believe it.
14 million in the previous two combined. So then it was Astros and Braves then. I think Braves carry, and that also shows you Braves probably carry a bigger name. And they're probably the most popular team aside from the Yankees and Red Sox in baseball.
They're underrated for sure. I mean, I remember when we were considered a middle market team, and I was like,
no.
You're an idiot. You know, like that's not the case. Like if you we were in rebuild mode, sure, but we're not middle market. We are let us get to a point where we're going to spend money. We also tend to spend money a little bit smarter than a lot of these other teams, but that's neither here nor there. So for me, you know, where we are right now with baseball, if they can make it more accessible, which, you know, until we get a new commissioner is probably not going to happen. Until we get a new ownership group, and I mean, all of it. I mean, until we wipe the slate clean, I don't think it'll ever happen. But that's where baseball is lacking in accessibility and marketing. And, you know, look, as a baseball fan, I'm going to love baseball no matter what. But I have friends who don't watch baseball. I have plenty of friends who don't like watching baseball. But how many friends do I have that don't like watching football? Very, very few. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. It's football, you know, they're going to say that's because football is only 2 hours, no matter what, or whatever, you know, they have a clock on it. That's not the reason. It's because we have teams that we care about for whatever reason. Right. And it's because we can watch the games and we can get into it. It's every Saturday or it's every Sunday or Monday or whatever. Like we have a set time and date. Baseball, to a lot of fans, it's, there's too many games. Not really. Right. The good thing about baseball is it gives you something to watch in the summertime where there's nothing. It's something you can pretty much go to every night and find a game. And, you know, I think that baseball has got to market that. Hey, guys, nothing's on TV right now. You might as well tune into the Diamondbacks Brewers game. Right. Why not? Learn about who Jock Peterson is and who Christian Yelich is and whoever else may be. Right. I personally think that baseball's got to evolve with the times, right? They're on streaming services, but they're still not accessible. I don't know how that happened, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, he's coming to a front office near you. His name is Tyler Redmond. He'll be a GM. He'll be working in some front office, or we'll be voting him in as the new commissioner of
They don't want me
Major
there,
League
Thrift.
Baseball.
They don't want me there.
I want
Baseball
the buffoon that's there now gone. So as long as he's gone, I'll vote for Tyler. You're right. You probably make too many of the right decisions. They would.
They don't want me there. I would make everybody mad if I got there.
Tyler, tell everyone they can find you, what you got coming up on the docket for RBL and Tyler Redmond on deck.
Sure, you can watch me and Jack Patterson both at WRBL at 6 and 11 on weekdays and weekends. Every day we're there. You can follow me on YouTube, Braves on Deck with Tyler Redmond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram with that handle right there at Tyler Redmond TV. And, of course, you can catch me on WRBL this coming up weekend.
I love him. He's my friend. And I'm one of those guys, one of your friends that doesn't watch baseball all the time. I don't have to. I can be lazy. I got Tyler Redmond. T-Red, thank you so much, man. Talk to you real soon.
Appreciate it, guys.
See you, Tyler.
That's Tyler Redmond. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Casey Smith of the Columbus Lions here on the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show. You're watching right now the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to the Campus Academy Private School, where every student is celebrated for their individuality. With personalized curriculum, students unlock their potential, growing into confident learners. At the Campus Academy, we give teachers the freedom to create dynamic classrooms where every student's voice is heard. Discover the difference. Enroll your child today and watch them thrive.
Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox. Discounted up to $6,500 off. Chevy's full-size pickup truck, the powerful Chevy Silverado, is up to $12,000 off. And big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Plus, enjoy no payments until fall. Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
And I'm smiling right now. Richard's smiling. We're having fun. Love talking baseball, catching up our audience and us included with all things Major League and everything else happening baseball world. It is Tyler Redmond on deck, Tyler Redmond TV. Now let's move on. He is technically my boss, as I am the play-by-play announcer for the Columbus Lions. He is the owner. He is a guy that I strive to be every day. He works harder than anyone I know. His name is Casey Smith, and he vacations better than anybody I know, too. Casey, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
All right, so first off, you're on a school board. Is that correct, Casey? Am I correct in saying that?
That is correct. I literally just got off a school board meeting, yes.
Holy smoke. So what got you into that realm? Because I feel like that is a tough area to be in.
You got to be careful what you do and what you get involved in. So I'm a business owner in our community, and I would give back to the schools a lot, sponsors, give money, volunteer for stuff. And then I got pulled into being on like a governance committee of a school, and they had some things going on with the board, and they were just like, we need you on the school board, need to run. And my wife's an educator, she's a teacher, my kids are in school. And I was like, no way. And then I ended up running. And so I guess now I'm a politician. I tell everyone I'm not. I'm an elected official. I'm not a politician. And so I'm on my second term now. So I love it. I love getting to, have an impact, in my community. And I'm a big community person. So it helps me, it's my way of giving back and giving my time.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that. I love that I was a teacher. I love being around kids and the impact. My mom was a teacher. My granddad coached and taught for 30 years. My uncle's a principal. Like, education's big in my family. So seeing you say that and wanting to give back, that's awesome, because the kids are the future, man. And being able to invest in them, giving them the resources they need, that is crucial. But the reason we got you on, Casey, is because the Lions are making moves. So
that's right.
We're going back to the NAL. Explain this move to our entire audience, the Columbus Lions fan base. Why is this the move next for the organization?
I would say, for the past probably 2 seasons, this has kind of been what we've been looking at, what we've been eyeing, how to get some things taken care of on the NAL side for us to make that move to happen. And everything worked out. And so it works out good for us in Columbus. That brand of football, that style of football, it lines up with kind of where we need to be, where we want to be. Great competition. I'm really excited about it. And I'm not going to mention every team here. It's not that I'm leaving any teams out, but just teams like Omaha Beef, Sioux City Bandits. That's going to be great to be in there in the mix with them. So we're excited about it, and can't wait to get back in there, see what we can do.
No doubt.
Well, Casey, I think it's great that the Columbus Lions are back in the NAL, a league that they were a part of from 2017 to 2022. But the teams have changed. I mean, we don't have the Albany Empire or the Orlando Predators or the San Antonio Gunslingers or the Jacksonville Sharks, but it's still the same style of football. I mean, do they still play Ironman football? Because I know the last time that the Lions were in the NAL, that was that 2022 season. That was Coach Jason Gibson's last season as head coach before he moved on to Jacksonville.
No, they've went away from the Ironman style. And I think Ironman, uniquely about that, I think we were the only team to vote no on that. But it benefited us the best, and we grew to love it. I grew to love it. I think it actually fit Columbus best with our revenue of being able to, invest more in certain players that can play both sides of the ball. It really worked to our favor more than anybody, actually. So I was an Ironman fan, actually. It was a different game for sure. You had, you definitely recruited different with all around good players versus the best you can find per position. But it was fun though. That was, but no, they've moved on from that. So it's back to the traditional it was prior to Iron Man though.
Well, in making this move to this league, Casey, one of the, I guess not really criticisms, but the questions fans have, with the domination of the last 2 years and winning back-to-back championships is the competitiveness, and then being in a league with a good structure, good person in place, people in charge that make sure everyone's on the same page and that all the teams are really supporting. It's not just the Columbus Lions is here and everybody else is down here. With the Lions, we want to be the best, but we want everyone else to be carrying their organization and putting the resources there to help the product. Do you feel like that's what's going to happen in going into this league?
Definitely, for sure. And as a league as a whole, it's a cliche saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link. But that's so true with this sport and this league. And so I think we're at 9 teams now, looking at their 10th one coming on.
Wow.
And who knows what's going to happen with a lot of the teams that, Richard just mentioned that were in the NAL previously. It's been a weird year for arena football. And then there's another 3-letter league out there that has dropped the ball, so to speak, pretty significantly themselves. So
yeah,
I know there's a lot of unhappy teams out there. I'm not on here saying that they're I don't know what's going to happen. I do talk to a lot of them. Curious to see what the future holds. I don't know. But we could definitely probably end up with more than 10 teams, but I've never really been about the number of teams. I could really care less. And this is one thing I was preaching to the AIF. Like, I didn't care if we had 4 teams or 10 teams or 14 teams. I just wanted good teams and I want a good product. And that's what matters the most. I've been a part of teams before that had or leagues before they had 5 or 6 teams that were like equally across the board. Honestly, it's the most fun I've ever had in the sport. So I don't really care about the number, but I do care about how strong they are and I'm not talking about how strong they are on the field. I'm talking about how strong they are financially as a business. And we got some really stout teams in this league. There's some that I think is going to have to pick it up and, but that's how it is with a lot of things, but we got some really good top tier teams in this league though.
Hold on, Richard. Before you ask another question, I just want to tie it back to this. How important is that community relationship then? Because I know you have guys like yourself and Richard that are instrumental in helping with the funding and everything else that go within the organization, being the owners. But you got to have help from the community, from the Columbus Civic Center, from the Columbus in general, sponsors. I feel like everyone's working together for this to be a successful. Is that important, or is it mainly just having some guy that's got millions of dollars just come in and own the team and let that be it? Or does it need to be community as well involved?
For longevity and sustainability, it's got to be community involvement. It's no secret on here. I hope I'm not dropping bombshells. And we don't make money with the Columbus Lions. Like it's a pretty significant loss, right? But
right.
Luckily we have good partners that just enjoy it, and we enjoy the product, right, and we enjoy what we bring to the community and letting players do. So it makes that a little easier. But yes, the community support and the corporate sponsorship is vital to this. And I tell everyone, I've been doing this 14, 15 years. I'm like, building a championship team is easy if you have the funding. The funding is the hard part. It's right. So it really comes down to and the funding is the community support. It's the community business. It's the community group ticket and season ticket sales and attending games. So the more we have that on our side, the more fun we can have on the turf for sure.
Casey, I do feel being around the team for the last 3 years that it doesn't really matter what league they're in. They could be in the AIFA, the AIF, or the NAL. The fan support is always going to be there. I feel like the Columbus Lions has the city. They have the backing. They have the players that want to come and play in Columbus. I just think that we as fans, we want to see Columbus win. And the fact that they won the 2 championships, it's been great. But that sometimes we would like to see more competitive football. I thought that the championship game against Corpus Christi, which by the way, they're going to the NAL too, I thought that was very competitive. Do you feel teams like Corpus Christi and the Harrisburg Stampede that are also joining the league is going to be good for the league because they have the right structure as well?
Yeah, I think Corpus is going to have a good future. They have a good group of ownership. That's a group too, and they're going about it the right way. And right before the game, I sat at the table with Thrift, and I told him, I said, Corpus is going to bring a team to play us. Like I knew a lot of that
Yep.
roster. I knew what we were about to walk out to, and a lot of people were overlooking that game, and I was like, please don't overlook this game. That's a very, very good football team. And you look at the AIF that we played last year. You look at Amarillo's roster, a lot of IFL guys on there. You look at Corpus's roster, a lot of IFL guys on there. Yeah, they were playing in the AIF, but there was flexibility with salary caps. We could probably pay people a little bit more money than they could in some other areas, the way you spread it out and divide it up. But there was some competition there. But you look at, there was, one team we played last year that really dropped the ball and frustrated me. And, I've been pretty vocal about it online. But that there's no need for that in this sport. So that is what it is. But no, I agree, the competition is I want every game coming down to the buzzer. Like that's the most exciting part of it. And so to be back in there, like I guarantee you, Omaha Beef and Sioux City and Colorado and the Carolina Cobras, they're gonna bring what they got, that's for sure. So these are gonna be some slugfest for sure.
I cannot wait to see it. Can't wait to be on the call, and can't wait for Georgia Alabama Sports Live to be covering it all next year. Lee Snow is stepping down, who did a fabulous job as the GM. I want you to talk about Lee, what he meant to the organization, and then how's that process going for looking for the GM, and if anyone's interested in that job, how can they go about applying for it?
Yeah, so Lee, great guy. Lee stepped down, but we still talk to Lee every day. So that's just Lee. Lee's a great guy. He's still helping. He just had his little baby, little cute little girl. So congratulations to Lee and his wife. We're excited about that. So he's going to spend time with his family and then also focus on his business that he does. And we appreciate what he did with us. Because in the time when you lose a head coach and a GM all in the same person, you talk about key man in business, like that's a key man when you lose a GM and a head coach. So Lee did a good job stepping in for us. He told us from the beginning, he's like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I've never done this. And I'm like, if you'll just help us, I can walk you through that. He once he got the hang of it, he got running with it. He did a good job, bro. And anytime you get some different outside ideas, it's good versus your same tainted vision of being inside of it for so long. So he brought different perspectives and ideas. But Lee will still be around. I don't know in what capacity, but we both made sure of that. He wants to be, and we want, we appreciate everything he's done, want him around. So, but yeah, we got some interviews going on in different capacities. But if people are interested, you can go to the contact us, the contact thing on our website, and then also you can email us all individually as well too, or send our social media messages. We're all in there as well, so we can look at that and see. But it's going pretty good. We got a couple of good candidates. I'll be in Columbus next week. Actually, we'll be meeting with a few people for various roles there too.
Awesome, man!
Case,
can't wait.
Case, when you compare the Columbus Lions to other football professional franchises, you got to think of the quarterback-coach relationship. How important is the relationship that the quarterback Marcus Brooks has with Coach Daniels? And really, what have they been doing just to attribute to the success of the Columbus Lions?
Yeah, it's really that's the main thing. Is the coach, Lane got a game plan how he wants to attack, but then also I don't know, you guys know a lot about sports and watch a lot of games. You can see this. The game starts off, a coach will have their ideas of where they're going to attack. All right, so a lot of coaches will start off very quick and smooth. Then adjustment starts happening, and then it becomes who can adjust, just like regular football, right? But whatever coach and quarterback can do that in unison, and kind of if the quarterback knowing what the coaches want to do and execute and can just walk out and do it, and especially when they've seen a lot of football, it's vital. It's huge, and I've been a part of like great rookie quarterbacks coming out of college. And you see all the potential they have, but what they don't have is 10 years of seeing defensive schemes in arena football. And so when you line them up at tryouts and combines, the young guy looks amazing until you go 8 on 8, and then it's a different ballgame. But having the veteran leadership and coaching and quarterback and being on the same page, it's almost unfair, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. And those guys have done instrumental into the success these last couple of years. Casey, this is basically just a cry out to the community, as I know the season doesn't start until 2025, but there's always ways they can give back and be involved. We're trying to keep the marketing, the branding and stuff. We're going to try to make this a reoccurring conversation with you, Casey, throughout, the next couple of months leading into the season. But this is your cry to the community on what they can do and what you are looking forward to for next year.
Yeah, so I just want to thank everybody who's been with us from the get-go, and the championship game was a great atmosphere. Would love to see everyone that was at the last game turn around and get back at the first game. We're going to be doing some different price points on our suites. We're actually going to be dropping those. So there we go. We'll drop some news on the show. So our suite prices will be dropping, and our idea is we want to pack them out. We want to fill every suite out next year on the floor. So, but we would love for fans to get involved, be a season ticket holder, buy in. You'll enjoy it, and I'm telling you, you're going to see some incredible football next year. As we've been on the phone doing all this merger talk and working through all the red tape and the legal, all that stuff. I just been wanting to play football. And so as I'm sitting here thinking all these teams that we're going to play next year, and I'm like, I hate I have to wait till the next year. So, but I would love for the fans to just get involved. Follow us on our social media. We'll be announcing players that'll be coming back. We'll be announcing new players, new additions to the staff. So just get in and buy in and be part of it. And we appreciate those that's been with us from the beginning.
I say this all the time, Casey. Appreciate you and allowing us to be a part of the organization, and looking forward to next year, man. We'll talk to you real soon, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me, man. Appreciate it.
That's Casey Smith, owner of the Lions. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got more here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox. Discounted up to $6,500 off. Chevy's full-size pickup truck, the powerful Chevy Silverado, is up to $12,000 off. And big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Plus, enjoy no payments until fall. Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. We're presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. We got a few more topics before we get out of here. I'm sorry. I had to wipe my face before I say this. Bronny James, man. He's just not ready. And the thing is, it's going to be constantly talked about. People are going to get upset. It's like, why are you going at a kid? Why are you hating on a kid? Why are you hating on LeBron doing what's, helping this kid out? I get everything that someone would say about the positives of what LeBron and Bronny are doing. I'm talking about on the court. The difference between him and Dalton Knecht, their first-round draft pick, is so substantial, so big. The gap, it's incredible. And I don't think it has to do with just talent. I don't think Bronny has what many people call the dog in them. Because if I am someone like Bronny who knows people are looking at me, I'm showing you there's not nobody here that can guard me. I'm going to attack everyone that's in front of me. I'm going to make the right read. I mean, attacking doesn't just mean scoring and shooting it. Attacking can mean attacking and being a playmaker for someone else. I don't see it that much. He has a few highlight plays. Of course, the ESPN only puts up the 2 highlight plays he has all game. Some people think he's actually playing good. That also frustrates other people and hating on him. He's not playing this year. If the Lakers want to win, Bronny's not playing. Bronny wasn't ready right now to be in the NBA, which is why I said to stay in college basketball, because I think he is similar in talent that Marcus Jordan was, who averaged 15 a game for Central Florida, the son of Michael Jordan. I This is going to be all season, man. It is nauseating already, and we haven't even started the season. There are so many guys there. Is he timid? Does he lack the requisite skill set to be an elite player? What is it? And I'm leaning towards, I don't think he has the dog in him and he's more timid more than it is that he doesn't have skill set, so he can't show something he doesn't have. I have just not been a believer, and it had nothing to do with these couple of Summer League games. Summer League means nothing to me. I'm just talking about Bronny as a talent. You could not convince me right now that this guy is going to be an elite talent. He is 6'1", 6'2", same height and same as Steph Curry and Chris Paul. Do you see Steph Curry and Chris Paul or Trae Young within this player? And I know you're like, well, those are offensive players. Name defensive guys. He's going to be an elite defensive player at 6'1", 6'2". Everybody in the league, 6'8". Jason Tatum played point guard basically for the Celtics in the NBA Finals. And if you looked at the roster for the Olympics, he's 6'10" and taller than Bam Adebayo, who's the center for the Miami Heat. I don't see it working, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people talking about it. I really am. I know you and Chris talked about it. I just want to throw that out there. I don't know if you have anything else you want to say, Richard. We can just move on. I did want to hit on some NBA topics, and then we're going to do a show on Sunday because you know what next week is? That's
SEC Media Days. There
and,
you go.
Richard, we're going to be doing shows next week, and a lot of the shows are going to be hitting on what we hear, team previews. That's going to be leading up into the season. Remember, we got all the way until September, so basically SEC Media Days, just talking about what we hear and see and reaction and stuff. But any thoughts on Bronny?
Yeah, I said my piece about Bronny on Monday. The Lakers are just gonna Laker. They do what they do because they just want to get the big spotlight. He's not an NBA player. You know who's gonna be an NBA player that nobody's talking about is Cooper Flagg. He came out of nowhere in that USA Select game, and now he's projected to be the.
Richard, I'm going to tell you this. 5 years ago, we were trying to find where's white basketball players. There weren't many of them. And then where were the white basketball players that were superstars? Again, lack thereof. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I'm just saying there is none. There is nobody that likes playing basketball in that elite. These last couple of years, Chet Holmgren, to guys going to be incredible at OKC, got drafted number 2. Reed Shepherd just got drafted in the top 3. I think Dalton Connect's going to be an excellent player. And next to Cooper Flagg, people are talking about that he's going to be so good. There are going to be teams that are literally trying to tank for him. That is a far cry that was the NBA 5-10 years ago. Because the white players that were getting drafted were like a Doug McDermott or a Jimmer Fredette. Guys that could shoot, score a lot of points in college, and just didn't pan out in the NBA. Even Kevin Love was just really he was athletic. He was a great passer. He was an anomaly. But now you're seeing Cooper Flagg, who is an incredible athlete. He's not the stereotypical white guy that just shoots. I mean, this guy is a playmaker, and he's 6'6". I really like Cooper Flagg a lot. I'm glad you brought him up. But that makes the point. It's like, but Bronny is going to keep up with those guys? I don't see it. And the only way he gets another contract is if a miracle happens and he proves me wrong, which I'm okay admitting it. I'll admit I'm wrong if he does that. Or somehow, some way, LeBron owns an NBA team and gives him a contract. I don't see another scenario in which that happens. And speaking of LeBron and the Olympics, Jaylen Brown not being put on that team is a travesty. And
it is.
I'm telling you, who would, if out of all the people that should be mad, maybe it's fans, all the people up in disgust, palms up, like everyone that's sitting there and, kind of bumfuzzled about Jaylen Brown not being on the team. The organization and people that should be the maddest is Boston. Because what type of turmoil is this going to send that 3 or 4 players from a championship roster, not one of them is Jaylen Brown? who won the MVP in the finals and conference finals. And if you want to say should have been Tatum in the NBA finals, okay, he won in the conference finals. He is a top 10, top 15 player. Derek White is an excellent role player, and maybe that's why they got him. Maybe they didn't need another superstar, someone that wanted the ball. They needed to have someone that was okay being second fiddle, third fiddle, and not getting the ball much and just playing its role of great defense. Maybe that's what they were thinking. But from what I've seen from Jaylen Brown, great teammate, buys in his role, worked his way up to be the player he is today. Why couldn't he fit in if Devin Booker can, or Anthony Edwards, or Kevin Durant, or Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo? Why can't he fit in that? Don't understand it. But with that being said, I still think the USA team is still the favorite, and I think they're a favorite by 5 to 10 points. I think the gap has really shrank, and it's the closest it's ever been. But this team still is far more talented than the other teams. We'll talk about other rosters, but any comment on Jaylen Brown not being put on the USA Olympic team?
How could you not put the NBA Finals MVP when he's got 3 of his teammates on Team USA and he doesn't get a chance? It's unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. I watched the game against Canada. And by the way, Gus Johnson and Bill Rafferty did an amazing job.
But they're not, and you got my hopes up. And I really was getting fired up at you, Richard, because you about ticked me off. Because when you said that, I'm like, holy smokes. I have not liked the announcers since it was, now I can't think of his name. My goodness.
Mike Breen?
No,
you like Mike Breen.
No, it was Mike Breen. I'm talking about the last time I liked an announcer for the Olympics was back in 2008 when it was Mike Breen and Doug Collison. That's who I was trying to say.
Okay.
Coach and former and number 1 overall pick. I thoroughly enjoyed that broadcast. Since then, haven't really liked the announcers as much. And then I'm like, dang, they're getting Bill Raftery. What a combination. Bill Raftery and Gus Johnson. Talk about the mannerisms, the phrases. I mean, that's going to be incredible.
Onions.
And it's Noah Eagle is the announcer for NBC. So you lied to everyone. You got my hopes up. That was just for an exhibition that was on FS1. The NBA, remember, the Olympics are on NBC, and neither one of those guys worked for NBC, and they didn't want to hire him just for the Olympics. They got Noah Eagle, son of Ian Eagle, that is going to be calling the game. So just want to throw that out there, by the way.
Well, it was an exciting game, and I do think Canada might get the bronze. Canada's got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray. They got Zach Edey. I mean,
hold up. We weren't going to talk about it yet, and Edey did not make the team.
I got too excited, Thrift. I do think France wins the silver because you got Wembanyama, you got Nicholas Batum. I mean, you got some players on the French team.
That's what I was going to ask. Who would be your team that is, you're like, okay, I think this team very much could be a competitor for the, and you're saying it's France. Canada has Nikhil Alexander-Walker, NBA player, decent. Excuse me, sorry. RJ Barrett, again, a player that had a lot of potential coming out. You know, never made an All-Star. It's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's a good Olympic roster value. Yes. Dylan Brooks. Yeah, I mean, you talk about someone get other people's skin. Yeah, that's what you want. Lou Dort. I don't think many people talk about that guy's an incredible defender for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He'll lock down. Let's see. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray, Andrew Nembhard, Kelly Olynyk, and Dwight Powell. That is a great roster.
Yeah, where's Andrew Wiggins?
Wiggins, it just didn't pan out. They were trying to make it work. But aside from Gilgeous-Alexander and Jamal Murray, none of those other players would make a USA roster.
That's true.
Okay, so then that's where you got to compare. Like, it's Canada. France, I think you like that because of the size with Wembanyama, how he could be dominant, and he really could showcase his talent and take his brand to, which is already on the rise, to a whole nother level, depending on what happens in this Olympics. But you got Nando De Cola, Frank Ntilikina, Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert, Nick Batum. Heck, even Evan Fournier is on the roster. France is going to be good. Think about it, they had a prime Tony Parker. Woo! Now we're really talking about a team because they play in FIBA. They play European-style basketball with FIBA in the Olympics. I'm going to say France too because of the home court, how loud it's going to be, and I honestly think ratings-wise that's probably a little bit better than Canada. But get a U.S.-Canada semifinal. So U.S., Canada, France, those are the top three. Who would be that sleeper team, Richard? Is it Australia with Daniels and Dellavedova and Exum and Josh Giddey, Josh Green, Joe Ingles, Jock Landale, Patty Mills?
They're calling that the group of death. And Greece is also in that group along with Giannis. That's the only NBA player for Greece, but it is Giannis. I want to see if Japan's got Rui Hachimura. I mean, I don't think there's any other NBA players. There's no NBA players on Germany.
They do have Rui Hachimura. They do have Rui Hachimura.
They do, yeah. Serbia, if they have Nikola Jokic and Bojan Bogdanovic, I think that would be a good team. I still think the United States blows them out, but it would be interesting.
They got Nikola Jokic. They got Filip Petrusev. I can't even say his last name. He played for the Gonzaga Bulldogs team that was ranked in the top 3 back before COVID hit. They would have he was a great player for them. He obviously didn't pan out in the NBA as well, but that guy's pretty good. They also got Bogdanovic. That's the Atlanta Bogdanovic. So they got a shooter with they got also Nikola Jovic, who's a pretty good player for the Miami Heat. Yeah, yep. So I like him. I'm with you. I think that's a great roster. And they got Dusan Ristic, who also played for Arizona, was a great player. So they got guys that played, high-level basketball in the Americas, albeit maybe in college, but it doesn't matter. They still played against some elite talent.
And Puerto Rico makes it for the first time since 2004. You remember they blew out the United States. Carlos Arroyo just went off, and that was a big shocker. That was 20 years ago. Puerto Rico ends up getting in, and they're in the same group of the United States.
It used to be called Yugoslavia, obviously.
It's now Serbia, Bosnia, Slovenia. They've like broken it up.
But if they didn't break it up, that team Yugoslavia. And obviously, we're glad they did that because we're talking about oppression. We were talking about, the people over there were going through a lot. They needed to break it up and let their countries. They wanted freedom from that. But when they were Yugoslavia, that would have then had Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic on the same team.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Jesus. Talking about someone that would have gave the somebody you would have gave the Hawk. Not the Hawks, but the USA team fits. Definitely would have been them. I'm not high on Spain. I think Greece with Giannis would be entertaining. I think I'm with you. I'm going to go with Serbia with Donovic and Bogdanovic and Nikola Jokic. I don't think remember last time the Americas lost for the first time since that 2004 Olympics. Now, they only lost one game, and they end up making it all the way to the championship under Greg Popovich. I don't think they lose a game this year. But no. that closing 5, obviously in the starting lineup is going to be Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid. But then you got Booker that's coming off the bench. You also got Jason Tatum, who is an elite top 4 level player. You got Bam Adebayo, Drew Holiday. You got Tyrese Halliburton, who's probably the number 12 player between him and Derek White on playing time. But, man, seeing LeBron, Steph, KD, Embiid, these guys playing together, it's going to be a lot of fun. But I think my closing 5 is KD, Tatum, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Anthony Edwards. I think that's the 5. That's a death line. I put KD like at the center position. He's 7 foot tall. Then you got 6'10" Tatum, 6'9" LeBron, Edwards at 6'5", and you got the best shooter of all time in Steph Curry. That's the lineup I would go out. And then you could throw Embiid if you got to play Jokic. Yeah. That's the thing. Like in years past, Richard, in 2008 and 2012, the center, We had Dwight Howard in 08. That was really it. Chris Bosh was decent. But to have a dominant center where you can literally say, hey, we can throw the ball to Joel Embiid. He can get us 35 tonight. That they haven't had that since Shaq and back in 96. So I really like this USA roster. Even without Kawhi, who I was kind of hesitant he was going to even play in the first place. I think USA, it would be a major shock if they don't win it.
Yeah, they're comparing this team to the 92 Dream Team. I think this team's more athletic. I mean, yeah, we dwell on the past. We thought the 92 Dream Team was great, and it was. But yeah, this team is just athletic, and you got them playing at a high level.
You're going to take
You can't dwell on the past. A Larry Bird that was past his prime. You had Magic Johnson, who, look, Michael Jordan was great.
I'm not even talking about 92. I'm talking about you're going to skip the Redeem Team and D-Wade, LeBron, Carmelo, and Kobe all in their prime. Those guys were dogs. Now,
that was a given. Yes, I did forget the Redeem Team. Yeah, they purposely assembled that roster because they were so upset by getting the bronze in 04. They got a defensive specialist in Tayshaun Prince. They needed a defensive specialist. They actually have one in Drew Holiday. I think that Drew Holiday could shut down any guard in this competition. I do think this team is up there with the Redeem Team, up there with the Dream Team. I believe they win gold, and that would make Kevin Durant the most decorative Olympian in history with 4 gold medals, surpassing Carmelo Anthony.
Who has 3?
He's got 3.
Because he was on the 04 team.
He was on the 04, but he's got a bronze. He's got 4 medals.
He's got 04, 12, and 16. Durant would have now 12, 16, 20, and 24. I'm with you. I love it. I can't wait for the Olympics. I love the Olympics in general.
Seriously, during the Olympics, we're gonna be talking about track and field, swimming, gymnastics, men's basketball and women's basketball. They even got 3-on-3 basketball for both the men and the women.
And you know who the 3-on-3 superstar is Jimmer Fredette. And I was just listening to a podcast, and he was talking about 3. They don't say 3-on-3. They call it 3x3. And the number 1 team is, I think it's Slovenia or one of the European teams. And then USA's ranked number 2. So cheer for them. If you've never watched 3x3, it's great basketball. And Jimmer looks like the Jimmer that was pulling up from 50 back in his BYU days. Richard, we've had a lot of fun. Tomorrow, we got the Harris County sitting down with athletic director, head of the program, Rick Beach, going to talk with Mindy Johnson. That's going to drop tomorrow. We got Little League games coming up on Saturday. Richard, we got a jam-packed show next week. We're going to have a show on Sunday and Tuesday. We got several AD interviews dropping next week. Just a lot happening. Make sure to tune in. And we'll be, recapping a lot of things that are happening at SEC Media Day. So probably going to be a Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday on top of the other shows that we're doing, like the Sitting with an Athletic Director, State of the Programs. We're going to have our show that we're doing. And then coming up in August, we're going to have the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live show. And then we're going to have a show that's dedicated to everything that we cover. And then we got another show that's going to be dedicated more to college football, major topics. It's going to be me and Richard doing our thing, just having another show name so we don't spend so much time on outside topics, especially when high school football starts. It's going to be so much things we're trying to cover within that time period. We're going to need and instead of having 5 Georgia-Alabama Sports Live shows, we're just going to rename another show and just keep doing what we do. So like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. Thank y'all so much for what y'all do. MVP, Richard Holdridge and Chris Gates. They held down the fort. Great job while I was gone. I'm glad to be back. Enjoyed a vacation with my lovely girlfriend in Punta Cana and Natalie and her family, and got to be in Helen. Was in Helen, Georgia last couple of days, on top of being in Punta Cana for 5 days, and then Atlanta. It's good to relax, get rebooted, refreshed, and ready to attack because, man, these next couple of weeks, and before you know it, Richard, we're starting football, and we're starting flag football, and we're starting volleyball and softball and all of it is going to be right here. This is your home for all things sports in Columbus. You want to watch live sports, the entire game? There's not a better place and a longer recap than any other place than Georgia Alabama Sports Live. From Richard Holdridge, I'm Thrift Barringer saying good night, everyone. We'll see you next time on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile.